The truth is, I'm tired. I'm tired of these films. Every time I watch one, I feel like my immune system weakens or something. I purposefully set out to watch this film with zero expectations, and I still left disappointed. Okay, so I chuck on the other side of the door. I sit down, get comfortable, and I press play. Immediately, we are in the busy streets of Mumbai, India, as indicated by the lettering on the screen. We see a woman rudely interrupt a man speaking to say that she's pregnant.
Then, out of nowhere, he says,
I'm pregnant.
Later, the couple are down the beach. They talk about moving to India full time. A little girl comes over to retrieve a ball, and then points at the woman and screams as her face turns into terrible CGI. Meanwhile, my non-CG'd face looked like this. And then the woman wakes up in bed, and it says 6 years later on the screen, as if that whole thing wasn't a dream she just woke up from, it was a legitimate memory. Shoddy post-production animation of the girl crying blood and the shot darkening included. I mean, maybe that's an over-the-top response. Maybe the girl has some sort of disease that makes her cry blood. I'm still crying blood from putting bleach in my eyes, so maybe it's possible that she just cries blood and an eclipse happened and everything got dark real quick. Oh, but then why would her memory include B-roll shots of things she didn't see, like cars driving down a street she wasn't on? Okay, note to self, do not put tomato sauce near eyes. It fucking burns. Okay, so it must have been a dream of something that didn't happen, because if it was a dream of an actual memory, it would have been in first person, right? Except why was the 6 years later thing there? Good opener. One small criticism. Your movie makes no sense. So, turns out in the 6 years that passed since the plot decided it was going to strangle itself with its own entrails, the protagonist Maria had 2 kids, subsequently got into a car crash and only managed to save the girl, Lucy, and Oliver, her son, drowned. And we know it's been 6 years because Maria's husband, Michael, now has glasses. Vague one-dimensional excuses for characterization follow, but they just end up being symbolic and inadvertent. Like the fact that the son, Oliver, like Shere Khan from the Jungle Book, doesn't really tell us anything about his actual personality. The father, Michael, doesn't even have a personality. He's just husband of protagonist. That's about all you find out about him. And maybe that he operates some kind of business. Again, doesn't really tell you much about his personality. All we know about the daughter Lucy is that she's almost monotone enough to replace Microsoft Sam.
Hello, Mommy.
What you doing in here, Luce?
Just playing with my dolls.
Oh, also, she gives really poor advice on how to drink tea. How you're supposed to drink tea.
You're supposed to drink tea like this.
Either way, any attempts to make characters even symbolically relatable are betrayed by the fact that they're clearly just plot devices with human faces to make a ridiculous film seem more palatable. Take the protagonist Maria, for example. All we know is that she was, like, weirdly mourning the loss of her son the whole film and blames herself for not being able to save him from the car crash. but her reactions to things were more than noticeably inconsistent throughout the film. This was her reaction to seeing a crow fully decompose in front of her in like 2 seconds. This was her reaction to hearing voices of numerous dead people behind a door in an empty temple. This was her reaction to a chair sliding across the floor of her son's old room after she spoke to him in the temple and he followed her back home. And then after what basically amounted to wide-eyed nonchalance, this is her reaction to her husband sleeping soundly.
Oh!
Gotta see the face of the motherfucker who wrote this. Look at that blazer t-shirt combo. Wear it proud.
It's notes on the movie, I think.
Yeah,
That's serious.
yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to.
Writing with pen and paper.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Badly
like
directed.
we used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Badly directed. Actors should be fired.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The fact that the character of Maria was super inconsistent because 1, ridiculous shit was going down that was unjustifiable, and 2, because concrete character traits weren't established in any meaningful way, was so apparent that Sarah Wayne Callis, in every interview, has a convenient justification for why her reactions were so whack.
This was a story about an exploration of grief and madness and how close those two things are. It's a bit of a simple story. It's a story of grief and madness and loss and how the line between madness and grief are really quite close.
Cut. Yeah, look, that was pretty good, but what we're going to need next time is a little bit more expression, not just widening the eyes. That's not enough to make people think you're fearful, just opening your eyes. And for the last time, the relationship between grief and madness is really quite close. So if you... Alright, from the top then, I guess. By the way, what is it with actors from The Walking Dead starring in shitty B-grade horror films? So the whole plot kicks off after Maria attempts suicide because she couldn't save her son. And then Nanny Peaky tells her of this temple where she could speak to her son again if she brought his ashes and sprinkled them on the steps, and then she locked the door to the temple. He would appear on the other side of the door, but she wasn't allowed to open the door. I think that's about it. Of course, because it's a horror movie that requires its characters to be veritably insane, Maria says, "Oh yeah, okay, that could be fun," and goes to the graveyard her son is buried in and digs up his body, and then she goes to look in the coffin for some reason, but Peaky says,
"It has been too long."
"No, it's been too long!" So they burn the kid on a fire and collect his ashes. Don't know how long they would have just been standing there waiting for him to finish burning, especially with these creepy dudes standing there watching the cremation. Peaky tells Maria that they eat the flesh of dead people to be closer to the dead or something. Except later, these people appear at Maria's house and then disappear like they're actually spirits, so I don't know what the fuck. Were they alive or dead? I have no idea. So, with the ashes, Maria takes a trip halfway around the country without telling her husband or her daughter. A letter Maria subsequently wrote her husband, still very unspecific about what she was doing, is read out over images of the Indian countryside.
Dear Michael, please don't be worried. I'm just taking a couple of days to sort my head out. I desperately want to find a way to move on so that we can be a family again.
Because I want so badly to be a family again, I dug up the corpse of our only son without your permission and rendered him into ash in a great fire overlooked by cannibals. I'm taking the box of ashes up to a temple our creepy nanny told me about. I will be scattering the ash on the steps of this temple and locking the door behind me. I hope to speak with the ghost of our dead son so he can tell me it wasn't my fault that he died. I have completely lost my mind. Be home soon, Maria." So she hikes up to this temple. Everything around it is dead and also out of focus. She scatters the... Wait. I'm probably out of focus, aren't I? Damn. She scatters the ash on the steps of the temple, and she locks the door behind her. Jump scare happens, she sees creepy statue, a bunch of voices, and knocking happens at the door. Maria watches on with an expression like she just heard someone fart in public. Then she hears her son behind the door and has a very weird conversation with him.
Press yourself close. Come up right against the door and press yourself close so we can be close together, okay?
Press yourself close up against the door. Press yourself right up close so we can be close together, okay?
Mom, I'm 24 years old. I can go to the toilet by myself. You do realize this is why I'm moving out, right? The son says he has to go, and of course Maria is stupid enough to open the door, or else the movie would have ended 15 minutes in. What I didn't realize first watch through was that the door she locked was the only door in the temple, and she was warned not to open the door after it at all. Like, how the fuck was she supposed to get out if she couldn't open it without letting every soul in the afterworld out with her? Like, the reason she even opened it was because Oliver had left already. When was she meant to leave? So Maria goes home, dumb shit starts to happen around the house, like the piano playing by itself, indicating her son is back in the house because of the exposition about the son playing piano at the beginning. Winston the pup senses imminent danger, which actually, I think that's the first time I've ever seen that in a horror movie, you know, where a dog senses ghosts. Except the dog was wagging its tail when it was meant to be all defensive over a ghost being in the house. The dog was still the best actor in the film. So Maria is just having quality family time, kissing her husband with her eyes wide open and tucking her daughter into bed really weirdly.
Nighty-night. Sleep you tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite. Nighty-night. Sleep you tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite.
What the fuck, Mom? Also, she makes real effort not to beat her husband up while she's sleeping, which is real good. And then, of course, she starts to see things around the house.
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
She immediately reconciles the idea that obviously her son has traveled back with her in ghost form, and then like the first thing she does is start tucking his teddies in and reading weird books about naked babies to his empty bed.
Directly in front of him, holding on by a low branch,
Stood a naked brown baby who could just barely walk.
I don't despise the conditions of my life as much as I despise the existence of my flesh. Good night, honey. Sleep well.
I think it's implied that by opening the door of the temple, even though she only scattered the ashes of one dead person and not all of humanity, she has somehow unleashed a bunch of spirits. This amounted to nothing if not a free-for-all of bad jump scares that happened for like the next 40 minutes of the film. Just whatever goes. No rules to it or anything, just whatever the writer thought would be scary happened. People that just died had their heads turned backwards. I thought it was just Maria hallucinating or going crazy or whatever, but for some reason an alive man begging for food turned into Voldemort for a second. I don't know what having no nose has to do with the dead, but... okay. Cool. Cockroaches, which are apparently a sign of spirits flooding the earth or whatever, and not just dirty restaurants, start pouring out of walls. Maria sees some four-armed god of death that cracked out of the statue when Maria opened the door, but wait, and then later she sees it again, but it's made out of dust this time. I'm almost done trying to understand this. Ow, the tomato sauce is still stinging my eyes. Why did I do that? Lucy gets bitten by the ghost of her brother. Maria finds a double of Lucy on her bed that pulls a stupid face, and I don't know what that has to do with spirits of the dead being on Earth as well, because Lucy is still alive. Whatever. Then the whole garden dies, and some of their pets, not the dog, because the dog's still needed for the plot, just some birds and fish. Lucy suggests pouring the dead birds into the sea. So they go out and do that, and those cannibal guys start hassling them. Her daughter's like, "What's that man doing over there?" And there's this half-naked guy pointing at them, and Maria's like, "Don't worry, that man's far away."
Mommy, who's that man?
It's all right, baby. He's far away.
Oh, this movie is so fucking stupid.
When I walk into a movie and it's just trying to boo scare me, it does. You know, you can. Okay, you walk down a darkened corridor and you know, whatever, something jumps out at you, you can jump and stuff. But what really scares is being emotionally engaged.
After seeing all this insane shit, Peaky calls Maria out for being irresponsible and opening the door of the temple and basically damning humanity to be attacked by spirits of the dead and characters plagiarized from Harry Potter, etc. She says she needs to burn all of Oliver's things that anchor him because now that he's out of the world of the dead, somehow his soul will putrefy, which seems to make the spirits do very specific things like forcefully demand bedtime stories and bite their siblings' shoulders. Sounds like pretty normal kid behavior to me. And instead of taking affirmative action because she was responsible for the possible destruction of humanity at the hands of an army of ghosts and Voldemort, Maria calls Peaky insane and runs off. I'm pretty sure you forfeited your right to call anyone insane when you began reading bedtime stories to the ghost of your son. And then Peaky sees her deceased daughter and somehow drowns in a pond. And when Maria finds her body all of 10 minutes later, it looks like she's been in the pond for like 10 years. And no shit, the next scene is just Maria chilling, patting her dog, and reading Lucy a story, as the rest of humanity apparently deals with their dead loved ones coming back and trying to kill them. Like, you thought the film had already given up on itself at this point. But then it starts to introduce all of these fake plot arcs that seem to suggest the plot was going to go in a certain direction, but it totally never did. Like, the whole time the nanny was like walking out of shadows and being all stern and creepy, and you thought, maybe the nanny is evil and is a minion of the god of death or something. Nope, she just died like the rest. Then Maria loses Ruby, or fucking Lucy, or whatever her name is. Like, it doesn't really matter what their names are at this point. Plot device 1 loses plot device 4 in back alleys behind some shops. Maria comes face to face with the four-armed god thing, and it lunges at her, and it clearly shows the thing, like, entering Maria's body. So naturally I think, right, so she's gonna get all weird and, like, evil and kill her family or something. Nope, they just forgot that happened, apparently. Things go on, and then Lucy ends up getting possessed by the naughty spirit of Oliver. Upon Peaky's request, Maria starts burning all of Oliver's belongings. Michael is like, what the fuck? Why are you burning all of our son's things? Because, of course, Maria doesn't have an open and honest marriage and didn't tell Michael about her basically unleashing hell on Earth. And then Maria explains,
Oliver came back and I think he killed Peaky. Because she tried to burn all of his things to send him back.
And since it sounded insane, because it was, she tries to get Lucy to back her up, but Lucy pretends Maria is crazy because she's really Oliver. Following? So Michael takes Lucy's side on the matter. So then I was like, okay, they're going to do this thing where Maria gets locked up and is considered mentally unstable while Oliver lives in his sister's body and Michael is none the wiser. Still following? Then literally in the next scene, Lucy kills the fucking dog and Michael realizes Maria was telling the truth while Lucy stabs him. Then somehow those creepy cannibal dudes get into their house and have surrounded Lucy to kill her or something. Then Michael, who surprise isn't dead yet, comes and stops one of them from stabbing Lucy. Then Maria gets up and tries to convince Oliver to come out of Lucy and into her. Then the spirit of Oliver turns good for a second and isn't all rotting and shit like he used to be. And he gives Maria a hug, leaving Lucy's body. And then the cannibal guys know Oliver is in Maria, so they stab her in the guts, killing her. Then she wakes up in the same room, but the grating is different and no one is there. Then the death god thing comes and shows its face, and it clearly needs dental work. Then it shatters into white light. And then we're back in the previous room and Maria dies again. I think. Something like that. Then Maria wakes up on the steps of the temple with her hands caked in ash, and Michael is calling to her from behind a door saying he needs to see her again, and goes to open the door. God knows how he found out about the temple, seeing as Peaky is dead, Lucy didn't know about it, and Maria purposefully didn't tell him about it. At least now, the pivotal question of this film has been answered. Yes, there will be a shitty sequel. There is such an obvious formula with these films. Every single one of them looks the same. They have the same cancerous titles, the same glossy fake grading, the same act structure, the same boring excuses for plot twists, the same boring jump scares that don't even make anyone jump anymore, the same boringly attractive cast, the same half-assed directing, the same I'm just doing this for the money because my career's not going very well commitment to acting, the same over-the-top sound effects that cause permanent damage to your hearing. Holy shit! Am I bleeding out of my ear? It's fucking burst an eardrum. So, what makes this film any different from any of the other one-dimensional horror films out there?
I just wanted to get that freshness again to horror, and to explore unknown that we hadn't explored. And so I think India really brought that all in. And I think we really sort of go with Maria's extraordinary journey because it is in a different location.
Ignore this review, that film had Indian throw cushions in it, so it's an original masterpiece. Brilliant. I'm the writer responsible for The Other Side of the Door. Here today we're going to be talking about some of my best writing tips to get you writing feature-length horror screenplays for production in no other than Hollywood. This is how you do it. Step 1. You grab all the things that help you be a writer. Your keyboard, your notebook filled with all of your writing ambitions, and your computer. And you put them in a hole. And that's it. You're done. It's been too long. It's been too long. It's been too long. Is that it? It's been too long! Ow. We're now accepting submissions of horror flash fiction under 1,500 words that will feature in a horror fiction podcast on the channel periodically. If you're interested in finding out more, there's a link in the description. Alternatively, if you've got a true paranormal story, we're putting together a segment compiling viewer-submitted ghost stories. Follow the link on the screen to an instructional video detailing how to submit your story.